Today we're going to be learning how to be solving inequalities. And just to put everyone's mind at ease, you solve inequalities the exact same way you solve equations. So we are given x minus 2 is less than 3. In order to solve this equation, you have to do the inverse operation. That is the kind of opposite. So we see that we're supposed to be subtracting 2 from our x. So we're going to add 2. But what you do to one side, you still got to do to the other. So that cancels out. And all we have left is x is less than 3 plus 2, which is 5. That is red. X is less than 5. So we're going to have an open circle on the number 5. So on the number 5, which would be right there, open circle. And listen to the way I'm saying this, or the way I'm reading this. X is less than 5. That means x has to be smaller than 5. So I have to indicate that on the number line. If x has to be smaller than 5, then I'm pointing to the left from the number 5. So it would be that up there on 5. All right, on into another one. This one reads y plus 2 is greater than or equal to 17. That's how that's read. So you can see that we're doing addition of 2. Well, to undo addition of 2, we have to subtract 2 from both sides. And why do we do this? It gets rid of the terms that are along with the variable. We want the variable, in this case, the variable y, all by itself. And if you're adding 2 and subtracting 2, that's nothing. So y is now by itself. So now it'll be y is greater than or equal to whatever 17 minus 2 is 15. This is the solution that you type in that box. And keep in mind the way I'm reading this. Y is greater than or equal to 15. It's important that you understand how to read it, because that what helps you graph it on the number line. Y is greater than or equal to 15. So since it has the line underneath it, this line here, that's the greater than or equal to. So it has to be colored in on 15 or closed. They call it a closed circle. So I'm going to color in on 15. And I'm saying y is greater than or equal to 15. So my graph has to indicate the greater than side, because y has to be greater than 15. So I'm pointing to the greater than side because I said y has to be greater than or equal to 15. Now let's get into some that involve some division or possibly multiplication. So this is red. P divided by 3. P divided by 3 is greater than or equal to 2. Notice I said divided by, but I actually wrote a fraction because division is basically a fraction. So that reads P divided by 3. What's the opposite of dividing by 3? That is multiplying by 3. So notice I'm going to be multiplying both sides by 3. And the reason why we're doing this is this ends up looking like this. 3p over 3 is greater than or equal to 6, because keep in mind 2 times 3 is 6. So now I'm going to highlight kind of a little trick here. You're seeing 3 over 3. Well, 3 over 3 is simply just 1. And then you have 1 times the variable p. Well, 1 times p is simply going to be the variable p. So we have p is greater than or equal to 6. That is the solution that goes in the box. Now I have to graph it. Well, p is greater than or equal to 6. So I'm going to color in or close my circle on 6. And listen to the way I'm saying it. P is greater than or equal to 6. Well, if p is greater than or equal to 6, I have to indicate that. Well, greater than 6 is pointing to the right. So it would be the closed circle pointing to the right. All right, on to another one. 11 times k is less than or equal to 30. Is less than or equal to 33. Well, in this case, we're multiplying. You have to solve inequalities by using the inverse. Well, the inverse of multiplying by 11 is going to be dividing by 11. And watch what happens here. Notice again, now you are seeing 11 over 11. Well, 11 over 11 is 1, because 11 divided by 11 is 1. So you have 1 times k, or 1k, and 1k is simply just k. So now we have k is less than or equal to 33 divided by 11. because keep in mind that actually means 33 divided by 11, and 33 divided by 11 is 3. So now we have k is less than or equal to 3. That's our solution, but we got to graph it. Less than or equal to. Since it has the line underneath the less than symbol, that means less than or equal to. So I have to close my circle on 3. So here's the number 3, closed circle. K is less than or equal to 3. I'm telling you that the variable k has to be less than 3. It's got to be smaller because I'm reading it that way. That's how you read those inequalities or the solutions there. K is less than or equal to 3. So it would be closed circle from 3 pointing to the left. All right, I'm going to do 2 more. These are a little bit more challenging because we've got some fractions involved, but there's a trick to these. So this is 3 halves times the variable m has to be greater than 1. Well, to get rid of a fraction, here's a little trick. It's called multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal is the fraction flipped, where the numerator becomes the denominator and the denominator becomes the numerator. So this would be 2/3. And you'll see why this works in a moment. But what you do to the left, you have to do to the right. So the reason why we're doing this, here it comes. 2 times 3. Well, 2 times 3 is 6. And then we're doing 3 times 2. Well, that's also 6. And we still have our m. But now you are seeing 6 over 6. Well, 6 over 6 is 1. And 1m is simply just m. So now I'm bringing down the greater than symbol because that's what we used. And 1 times 2/3, well, that's easy, 2/3. So this right here is the solution. We have to graph it. So we got to find 2/3 on our number line. So we can tell that these are split in thirds. And the reason why we can tell these are split in thirds, if I just make a quick bar model, you can see these are thirds. So the first one shaded would be 1/3. Second one shaded would be 2/3. So I shaded all the way up to that point right there, but it has to be an open circle. The reason why it has to be an open circle is this is red, m is greater than 2/3. It can't be equal to 2/3. It has to be greater than 2/3. So that means we are going to be pointing to the greater than side, not because I said the words greater than, but because I'm telling you m has to be greater than 2/3. So if you hear that out loud, m's got to be greater than 2/3. I got to point to that side that I'm describing. M is greater than 2/3. So it would be open circle to the right. All right, on into the last one. We have, this one's a tricky one, but we've got 5 is greater than 5 times t divided by 6. But you are seeing that fraction again. You're seeing 5/6. Well, we're going to undo this by multiplying by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 5/6 is 6/5. And I'm putting it in parentheses because when you squish terms next to parentheses, that means multiply. But what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And again, here's why we're doing this. We're going to do 6 times 5. Well, that's 30. 5 times 6. Well, that's 30. And of course, we still have our variable t. Well, now you're seeing 30 over 30. 30 over 30 is simply just 1 because 30 divided by 30 is 1. So then you have 1 times t. And 1 times t is simply just t. Now I'm going to use my greater than symbol, bring that down, and I have to do 6/5 times 5. Well, hopefully you know to multiply fractions, you can put 5 over 1 because that's the same thing. And then I'm actually going to cross reduce here. I know that both 5 and 5 are divisible by 5s. So those turn into 1s. And now it's 6 times 1, 6, and then 1 times 1, 1, and it's simply just 6. So this is read 6 is greater than t. So here's a tricky one. Notice the variable is on the right side this time. This is the solution. 6 is greater than t. But there's actually always two ways to write solutions. If you think about it the opposite way, if I say that 6 is greater than t, what does that say about t? That says that t has to be less than 6. That is also the correct solution. Remember in elementary school, you were always taught that the alligator eats the bigger number. We'll look over here with my teeth. The 6 is being eaten. And look over here on this one where I'm drawing the teeth. Notice the 6 is still being eaten because it's the same. Even though you say 6 is greater than t and someone else says t is less than 6, you're saying the same thing. It just sounds different. That's like saying if I'm taller than you, that means you're shorter than me. Same scenario. So I have to graph this. So it's going to be an open circle on 6. So 6, open circle. Reason why it's an open circle is because it's not less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So I'm going to use this one because it's easier when the variable's on the left. That is read t is less than 6. That means my variable has to be smaller than 6. So I'm going to point to the smaller than side on my graph. Or if you read it the highlighted way, 6 is greater than t. Keep in mind, if 6 has to be greater than t, that means t has to be smaller. All right, I hope these were helpful. That was solving inequalities.